This video tells the story of Suzanne Somers and Joyce DeWitt's nasty feud, the backroom drama, and the factors that fueled this dispute from their time on Three's Company. Suzanne Somers and her Three's Company co-star, Joyce DeWitt, had a significant feud during the sitcom's 5th season, causing them to not communicate for 3 decades. Although Suzanne and Joyce were friends on screen, some backroom drama took place, and this left Joyce to be at odds with Suzanne and even the rest of the cast for decades. The 3 characters, Jack Tripper, Janet Wood, and Chrissy, which were played by John Ritter, Joyce DeWitt, and Suzanne Somers respectively, all gained rapid fame. But Suzanne Somers' character stood out due to her comedic talent, coupled with her striking appearance as a gorgeous blonde. This led to her widespread recognition, and Suzanne's face became a regular face that graced magazine publications and tabloids. Things began to turn around in 1980 during the 5th season filming of Three's Company. Suzanne was about to renegotiate her contract when she discovered a huge difference in her pay compared to the male co-stars of the show received. Although when the show began, the network offered Suzanne a modest $3,500 per episode for the first season after seeing that she didn't have a price quote. So when the show became successful and Suzanne rose to stardom, her salary was increased to $30,000 per episode. This was a substantial raise, but it was still very low when compared with her male colleagues' earnings. During this era of the 1970s, the pay gap between both genders was unimaginably wide. It was widespread across various industries, including television and film. Despite Suzanne's success as being a key figure in generating revenue for the network, she faced the frustration of earning significantly less than her male counterparts nonetheless. Despite her pivotal role in the success of Three's Company, Suzanne's salary of $30,000 per episode and the salaries of the other female actors paled in comparison to John Ritter's, who was making 5 times that amount, reaching $150,000 per episode after negotiations. Suzanne believed she was entitled to a better salary given her contributions to the show's success, so she approached her contract's renegotiations with the idea of asking for a raise. Having come to negotiations with the proposal to raise her own pay to $150,000 per episode, Suzanne planned to share the increase evenly with her co-stars, John and Janet. She had also planned to secure a portion of the back end for residuals during the show's syndication, so she told her husband, Alan Hamill, who was a former TV producer. To negotiate on her behalf, Suzanne instructed him to play hardball, expecting the network to at least meet her demands halfway, or at worst, decline the increase and maintain her current $30,000 per episode salary. However, the unforeseen outcome was the network not only rejecting her demands, but also promptly firing her. At that moment, Suzanne was unaware that some external factors unrelated to her or Three's Company played a pivotal role in the network's decision to reject her salary increase request. The network had recently consented to the salary demands of Penny Marshall and Cindy Williams, stars of Laverne and Shirley. Fearful of setting a precedent and triggering demands for higher pay from other female actresses, the network entered Suzanne's negotiations with a preconceived notion against raising her salary. Very likely, Suzanne's request for a 5-fold increase may have intensified the network's unease, which led to her sudden dismissal. When her husband returned home to deliver the unfortunate news, Suzanne remarked, saying, "Never think that you are not replaceable. Rule number 1. Even though she was fired, Suzanne still had to complete the remaining episodes of Season 5, and the network seemed to harbor resentment against her during those periods. As a result, they enacted petty and vindictive measures. One of those measures was barring Suzanne from setting foot on set during the remaining shoot days of the 5th season. To maintain ratings without allowing her on set, the network insisted on devious solutions which kept Suzanne on screen without interacting with anyone. The art department was also tasked with constructing a secluded recording booth with a separate entrance, which saw to it that Suzanne was completely isolated during filming. This degrading arrangement deeply affected Suzanne, and it amplified the negative impact it had on her well-being. More painful was the fact that the network portrayed her in a negative light to the cast and crew. She was branded as greedy and a potential threat to the show's success. Consequently, Suzanne endured years of isolation from Three's Company's team, and her relationship with John and Joyce became more strained. The main reason why Suzanne Summers was fired was because of sexism, and since Joyce and other co-stars were in the dark about the cause of her dismissal, their relationships went cold as both remained aloof. After her firing, Suzanne faced a challenging transition from the pinnacle of success to an actress that was struggling for interviews. This abrupt downturn initially led to a period of depression, and she began to question the decisions that had brought her to this point. However, Suzanne experienced a transformative shift in perspective. Recognizing the gift of visibility that the show had bestowed upon her, she leveraged her name recognition to reshape her career positively. She parlayed it into a residency in Las Vegas, effectively turning her into a star in the world of live performance. In fact, she was named Las Vegas Entertainer of the Year in 1987 alongside Frank Sinatra. Beyond her success in entertainment, Suzanne ventured into entrepreneurship, establishing a business empire that encompassed fitness and beauty lines. She wrote best-selling books and hosted talk shows. Remarkably, she turned her fame from Three's Company into a lucrative career, surpassing the financial terms she had sought in her contract negotiation. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Suzanne expressed no regret about asking for a raise, acknowledging the unfairness of being fired for it. She emphasized that life isn't fair, but she not only landed on her feet but also thrived, emphasizing that her success wouldn't have been possible without the fame and name recognition gained from Three's Company. Despite her earlier adversity, Suzanne Summers found solace in later reconciliations. In February 2012, Suzanne Summers was reunited with her former co-star, Joyce DeWitt, on her show Breaking Through. The reunion was intense and emotional as both Suzanne and Joyce shared a brief embrace before talking about the different paths their lives had taken. Also, the co-stars talked about their individual perspectives on the events that transpired during their time on set. Suzanne offered her explanation for the decisions she made. To her, her choice to ask for more pay was simply business-driven. She recalled her entry into the show as a single mom who was in dire need of financial stability. In her own words, she said, "I always saw this as a business venture. In a group of serious actors, I probably pissed you all off." Having pursued theater studies in college and earning a fine arts master's degree from UCLA, Joyce's approach to the issue of remuneration was, on the other hand, not as serious as Suzanne's. For her, she was more concerned about the craft. Putting behind the conflict that unfolded, Joyce wittily remarked that despite the events that unfolded, the only reason Three's Company is worth remembering is that it created an opportunity for all of us to laugh together, to celebrate joy. It's a profound gift. Like Suzanne, Joyce found success after her time at the Three's Company. She carved a significant niche in theater and spent a substantial time of her career in dramatic arts. Both Suzanne and Joyce expressed another distinction between them. Joyce never wanted fame and steered clear of the spotlight. But Suzanne, on the other hand, was working in several parts of spotlight entertainment. During this heartfelt reconciliation on Suzanne's talk show, Joyce commended her for facing ruthlessness and triumphing over challenges. In her own words, she says, "You went up against ruthlessness, and it came down. But what you've gone on to do is immeasurable." This reunion marked not only a personal reconnection, but also an acknowledgement of the varied journeys these two actresses undertook after their time together on the hit sitcom. During their reunion, Suzanne Summers and Joyce DeWitt also took a moment to remember their third castmate, John Ritter, who passed away in 2003. Suzanne fondly described Ritter as the greatest physical comic of their era. The curtain also fell on Suzanne a day to her 77th birthday, as she passed away having lived her life fulfilled. She will always be remembered for how she stood up for herself and her contributions as an actress. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out our other videos about beautiful actresses in history.